This is Leviticus chapter 22 with commentary. We're back at it again, almost through with the book of Leviticus, so we got to keep chugging forward. This time we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the strangers that were living amongst the people of Israel in that land. So there's going to be some laws pertaining to that, and just generally speaking, just a bit of review as well. So go check out all the other videos we've made before if you haven't already, and then when you come back here, we will get this underway.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and to his sons, that they separate themselves from the holy things of the children of Israel, and that they profane not my holy name in those things which they hallow unto me. I am the Lord. Say unto them, Whosoever he be of all your seed among your generations, that goeth unto the holy things which the children of Israel hallow unto the Lord, having his uncleanness upon him, that soul shall be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. What man soever of the seed of Aaron is a leper, or hath a running issue, he shall not eat of the holy things until he be clean. And whoso toucheth anything that is unclean by the dead, or a man whose seed goeth from him, or whoso toucheth any creeping thing whereby he may be made unclean, or a man of whom he may take uncleanness, whatsoever uncleanness he hath, the soul which hath touched any such shall be unclean until even, and shall not eat of the holy things unless he wash his flesh with water.
Just to review really quickly before we move on, talking about the various uncleanness. It was kind of a brief review, and it talked about various issues with, like, diseases and blemishes and touching unclean things, just generally a symbol of a deeper spiritual uncleanness, and how that physical uncleanness cannot enter into the righteousness of God. It was very important that they keep a level of cleanness and righteousness on a perfect level, because anyone who entered into that sacred place in the tabernacle with God would be destroyed if they didn't. So, just a quick review. We've talked about all that before.
And when the sun is down, he shall be clean, and shall afterward eat of the holy things, because it is his food. That which dieth of itself, or is torn with beasts, he shall not eat to defile himself therewith. I am the Lord. They shall therefore keep mine ordinance, lest they bear sin for it, and die therefore, if they profane it. I, the Lord, do sanctify them. There shall no stranger eat of the holy thing. A sojourner of the priest, or an hired servant, shall not eat of the holy thing. But if the priest buy any soul with his money, he shall eat of it, and he that is born in his house, they shall eat of his meat. If the priest's daughter also be married unto a stranger, she may not eat of an offering of the holy things. But if the priest's daughter be a widow or divorced, and have no child, and is returned unto her father's house, as in her youth, she shall eat of her father's meat, but there shall no stranger eat thereof.
Okay. So, talking about what I was saying earlier, strangers, right? And the specific laws for strangers. And this is kind of an interesting thing, because God had set aside a very specific group of people at this point in history, right? Not everyone was sanctified by God and called to be the children of God. There were people on the outside that were just not a part of it. And the people of Israel were living amongst these people. They were, in fact, moving into lands where these other tribes existed. And God wanted to make a clear separation between his children and them, and their cultures and their practices and everything. And at this time, unfortunately, there was no death and resurrection of Christ, which sanctifies all people, right? Because the sacrifice that Christ made in his resurrection from death is an atonement for all people, and he encouraged his disciples to go out and spread the gospel so that he could be that atonement, and everyone could be included in that sanctification and salvation, and be all at once be the people of God. This was not the case here, though. So while God did expect his people to treat them well, to treat the strangers well, to treat them like they were family, to be good to them, and to live amongst them peacefully, and he also expected a level of rule following from these strangers in terms of, like, cleanliness and offerings and such. They simply were not able to partake of the holy things that God specifically stated for his people, and more specifically the priesthood. And of course, there were exceptions made, like if the priest bought any food for these strangers, they were allowed to eat that, of course. But in terms of being part of God in that spiritual way through these rituals, they just simply were not allowed to participate. It was a bit of what seems like discrimination on the surface, but remember that everything in regards to God is about a inward cleanliness and sanctification and righteousness. It was only by these rituals that God's people followed that they were even considered to be God's children and had that and were given that covering of righteousness. These people on the outside did not know this God. This God was a foreign God to them. They worshiped their own gods. So they had their own way of life, and it counted as uncleanliness against God on a spiritual level. So, and just to be clear, God is fair and just. If his children were to break these laws, they also face that penalty of being unknown to God, because knowing God and having that relationship with him is attaining that level of righteousness. And if anyone came to him without that righteousness, they would perish. So he wasn't simply discriminating. He was setting a gap and saying this is not based on who you are or the kind of person you are or what your skin color is or who you were born from, but rather this is based on a level of righteousness. And if you don't have that righteousness, you cannot dwell in the same place that I do, and you can't partake in the things that relate to me. And that was true for everyone across the board, including God's own people. So this isn't discrimination. God has simply set this people aside to be that example of righteousness. And if they didn't do it, then they were basically the same as any stranger. So it's about spiritual cleanliness and righteousness, the kind of thing that Jesus gives to us now, that allows everyone at all times and all people to be included into that, and be included in the body of Christ and the family of God. So let's keep going.
And if a man eat of the holy thing unwittingly, then he shall put the fifth part thereof unto it, and shall give it unto the priest with the holy thing. And they shall not profane the holy things of the children of Israel, which they offer unto the Lord, or suffer them to bear the iniquity of trespass when they eat their holy things. For I, the Lord, do sanctify them.
And this is something to point out too. If a stranger unwittingly is involved in this and eats the food that is sanctified by God when they aren't supposed to, there is still a chance for them. They don't have to die immediately, and they don't have to, and God doesn't want them to bear the iniquity of trespass. He doesn't want them to live in sin either, so he sets this condition up to allow them to be okay, even if they do so unwittingly. So even still here, we're seeing mercy, right? We're not seeing a wrathful God and an angry God that just punishes and smites as he sees fit. We're seeing a God which is making continual concessions for people, both his children and the people outside of the people of Israel, right? And he's allowing them opportunities to be okay. It's God does not want anyone to suffer the pain of sin. He doesn't want us to be in sin, and he doesn't take any pleasure in watching us suffer from our sin. So if God can provide a way to take that from us, he certainly will, and he did it right here. And that's for everyone, not just for a specific group of people.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and to his sons, and unto all the children of Israel, and say unto them, Whatsoever he be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers in Israel, that will offer his oblation for all his vows, and for all his freewill offerings, which they will offer unto the Lord for a burnt offering, ye shall offer at your own will a male without blemish, of the beeves, of the sheep, or of the goats. But whatsoever hath a blemish, that shall ye not offer, for it shall not be acceptable for you. And whosoever offereth a sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord to accomplish his vow, or a free will offering in beeves or sheep, it shall be perfect to be accepted. There shall be no blemish therein. Blind or broken or maimed or having a wind or scurvy or scabbed, ye shall not offer these unto the Lord, nor make an offering by fire of them upon the altar unto the Lord. Either a bullock or a lamb that hath anything superfluous or lacking in his parts, that mayest thou offer for a freewill offering, but for a vow it shall not be accepted.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a second because there's a couple things I wanted to point out. It mentioned that this was a rule for both the people of Israel and for the strangers. So God was willing to accept offerings from the strangers living in the land, right? They just could not partake of the holy food, but they were allowed to give offerings. And these were offerings that God would forgive sin for. So they were allowed to be involved in some of the ritual practices of sanctification for sins through these offerings. So there's definitely some inclusion there. And now let's move on to the specifics of the offerings because what you'll notice is it's demanding very specific creatures, like a lamb and a bull, right? And as some examples, but it demands that they are without blemish, right? These creatures cannot be offered if there's anything wrong with them, if they have any sort of blemish or any sort of error or anything going on with them, they can't be offered because the Lord demands righteousness and purity and a pure sacrifice in His presence. And this kind of goes back to the previous chapter that we talked about because what it says here is that it mentions the same things. If there's anything broken, like broken bones, if there's anything that's lame or blind, he doesn't accept it. It cannot be allowed to enter into his presence. This was the same conditions that he stated for Aaron's sons, the priests. If any of Aaron's sons had any of these problems, they were also not allowed in. So there is another level of significance here. If you're going to offer anything to God, including yourself, you have to reach that point of deeper spiritual righteousness. And we talked before about in the case of the priests or the people that these were not necessarily physical issues, but that the physical issues were a or a reflection of what was going on internally, right? We were talking about spiritual uncleanness and the spiritual definitions of what all of those things meant, and that's in the previous chapter in chapter 21. Um, but basically, God's demanding the same thing in terms of offering. So, really, when you go to serve the Lord, as the priest did, you're giving yourself as an offering as well. And God demands the same thing from all of his offerings. That level of internal cleanness and righteousness. And this is what Jesus is for, again, to make us righteous and to equip us to serve God, because we can't be in God's presence if our unrighteousness is there, because it will destroy us. But Jesus makes us clean. Jesus removes our iniquity from us by his death and resurrection. So it's important that when you're serving the Lord in any capacity, that you have that relationship with Jesus now for that redemption of sins, because you have to put on Jesus's righteousness to be in the presence of God and to serve him. This is what God expected then as well, that level of righteousness in all offerings, both animals and people, in service. So there it is.
Ye shall not offer unto the Lord that which is bruised, or crushed, or broken, or cut, neither shall ye make any offering thereof in your land. Neither from a stranger's hand shall ye offer the bread of your God of any of these, because their corruption is in them, and blemishes be in them. They shall not be accepted for you. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, When a bullock or a sheep or a goat is brought forth, then it shall be 7 days under the dam, and from the 8th day and thenceforth it shall be accepted for an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And whether it be cow or ewe, ye shall not kill it and her young both in 1 day. And when ye will offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving unto the Lord, offer it at your own will. On the same day it shall be eaten up. Ye shall leave none of it until the morrow. I am the Lord. Therefore shall ye keep my commandments and do them. I am the Lord. Neither shall ye profane my holy name, but I will be hallowed among the children of Israel. I am the Lord which hallow you, that brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord.
Okay, so just to conclude there, we've mentioned this before. When you make the offering, make it of your own will, right? Have the desire in your heart to offer unto God. If you don't have the desire to serve God and to offer yourself unto God, he doesn't want your offering. You have to have a heart to give it, or God will not accept it. He only wants people who want to serve him. So if you're getting, if you're early on in your relationship with Jesus and you really are thinking about wanting to serve the Lord, make sure that that is your heart condition to do so. Prepare yourself on a spiritual level to be in service of God, because that's not an easy task to do. God may ask of some things of you that are fairly hard, depending on whatever plans He has for you specifically. But the reward is great if you're willing to serve Him. But you have to have the heart to be in that service, and that includes not just service to God, but service to others. Because the best way to honor and love God is to honor and love other people. So, just prepare yourself for being willing to do that. I think that covers everything in this analysis. Thank you so much for watching this analysis video. I'm very blessed to be able to do this and to study the Word and present some ideas to you all. And I hope you've gained something out of it on a spiritual level. And I hope God is blessing you. And I hope you're listening to God when He calls you in your heart to service and to anything else. Just remember His laws and statutes and commandments. Therefore, your own good. They're to help you, not to hurt you, and to make you free and not control you. So it's a wonderful thing that we get to serve Jesus in this capacity. And again, it has never been easier for a person who loves the Lord to serve the Lord. Because of Jesus, we have a greater level of freedom than these people at this time ever did. It was much harder to serve God than it is now. And we're very blessed. So I, I hope this has been beneficial for you. And I thank you so much for being a part of it and going on this journey with me. We're making some great progress here, so I'm very happy. All right. I've got nothing else to say to you. So God bless and go in peace.